Hi everybody, it's the 29th of March and it's time to prick out my tomato seedlings. They're already about 2.5 inch high or so. They've still only got the seed leaves, they've not formed the first true leaves, but I don't want to leave them any longer. They're big enough to handle. This is a beefsteak variety, so they've got quite big seed leaves. I want to do it now because often the seedlings have quite long roots and we want to be able to get them into the pot. So I'm going to do mine now. It's the 29th of March, by the way, and these were sown on the 20th of March, so they're 9 days old. 2 or 3 days in the propagator and 5 or 6 days sat on the windowsill, so they're ready to go. And I'm using, to pot them on, a 5-inch pot, that's 5 inch across the top, and the 1 litre pots. And I'm filling them with John Innes #1 seed mix. Now, some people use much smaller pots, but I'm not going to pot on again, because each time you pot on, you knock back the plant a little bit, and it takes it a few days to recover. So, prick it out into this pot, and it'll stay in this pot then for about the next 8 weeks. So, the variety is Black Russian. I've sown 4, but I'm only going to use 2. So carefully put your fingers across the top, tip it upside down, and then just lay it flat like so, and the seedlings will just fall apart. And if you tease them out and hold them by the seed leaf, make a hole with a pen that's big enough and drop it in a little bit deeper, because we want it as deep as possible. We want those seed leaves to sit just above the soil. Just gently tamp it down, it has to be too firm. Same again. Make a nice deep hole. Let's find one that's, say, the root is as long as the seedling itself. So that's going to go in there again, as deep as possible. And they are my 2 Black Russian seedlings, pricked out, potted on into 1 litre pots, 5-inch pots. I'm going to give them a water now just to settle down the compost, and that's that. And they're going to stay in here now, probably for the next 6 or 7 weeks. I'm going to erect a bubble wrap tent above them to keep them warm, and that's it. The other thing you need to remember is to water from the bottom, not from the top. So ideally, you need your pricked out seedlings on a watering tray, so you can water the tray and then the water will rise up the pot. You don't want the surface of the soil to be too wet, because otherwise you increase the risk that the seedlings might damp off and you might lose them. And doing it this way, it's very, very rare to lose any of the seedlings. Certainly not to damping off anyway. So that's it. Tomato seedlings pricked out. So here we are at Compost Corner. I've tried to take a leaf out of Mick Poltney's book, learned from his experience, and I'm starting to source several different ingredients to layer up in my compost. I've got 3 bins here, and I've got 1 on the other allotment. I'm going to bring that here as well. And I've made a start on 2. They're about 1/3 full each of them. I've scooped up molehills. I visited a local window making company. I've actually just picked up a prescription from the chemist, and I noticed that next door was a big, quite a well-known local window frame company. So I knocked on the door, went in, and they were more than happy to let me take 2 or 3 sacks of sawdust, which can be used as part of your brown layer. So This is the mahogany sawdust. I've got several bags of that. Molehills in this bag. Just a couple of handfuls. So I put a couple of handfuls of that. A couple of handfuls of the sawdust. And I've also been able to get hold of some spent hops. I did a search online to find local breweries. Most of them were already giving their spent hops to allotment holders, but I found one about 5 miles away, and he's allowed me to take 2 sacks a week. And I've put about 3 handfuls of that into my peelings mixed up. And I also happened to see some trial rock dust at a local garden centre, so it's only about 50p a bag, so I got about 4 or 5 bags of that. I'm going to get a big sack, so I put a sprinkling of that in as well. So take a look inside. It's starting to look quite good. I've got the peelings mixed in with spent hops, eggshells, tried to avoid onions and citrus fruits, and then I've put a layer of sawdust, cardboard, and then some soil on top. Oh, and there's some rock dust in there as well, in with the peelings all mixed in. Same over here. I've not torn the cardboard very tiny, and I've not blended any of it. I've just chopped it all with a spade, but it soon bulks up, and it's not cost me anything. Just a trip once a week to a brewery, and everything else is just local. Your own peelings. I've got enough sawdust to last me probably months. So there you are. It looked complicated when I was amazed when I saw Mick Poltney doing it. It looked so detailed. He used so many different things. The one thing that I'm missing is worm casts, so I might order some worm casts, and that's probably the only thing, along with a bit of rock dust, that I'll pay for. But I've been at it now a couple of weeks, and this is quite a big bin, and it's about a quarter full. This one already is about a third full, so I reckon within about 6 weeks both of these will be full. Leave them another month and they'll be ready. So all thanks to Mick Poltney. Compost. Hi everybody, I'm back on the plot again now, and I just thought I'd show you the smaller of the 2 greenhouses, because I've done a little bit of work in here over the Easter bank holiday. Put the earlies in, as you saw in the last upload on Good Friday, but it's too wet to be outside over the weekend, so did a bit of work in both greenhouses. I brought all the onions in here, and they're now sitting on the purchase that I made over the weekend on eBay, which is a really substantial trestle table. I bought 2 for £20. The other one's in the other greenhouse. So about 2/3 of an inch thick plywood, the top, and really strong tubular sort of metal legs underneath, with struts, wooden struts across the bottom. It's very, very substantial, really heavy to carry, but it's given me more growing space, and I've got things off the ground. The main crop potatoes, Picasso and King Edward, are waiting beneath in the shade. They'll go out into the ground in a couple of weeks' time. But I also potted up some potatoes. I've done 6 45-litre pots of Sarpomera. I've not put them in the ground. I put them in the ground in the past, and they don't do as well as in the pots, and they're not as clean. So that's what I've done. I've put some cheapish compost along with some well-rotted manure, a bit of fish blood and bone mixed together, and I've put 4 seed potatoes in each pot. There's still a little bit of room to add a little bit more compost, but I ran out, but they'll do for now. So there are 24 Sarpomera seed potatoes there in 6 45-litre pots, and with a bit of luck we might get, I don't know, maybe about £20 in each pot. We'll see. Don't want to count the chickens before they're hatched. And then on this side I've got 3 30-litre pots at the back there, and I've put 4 kestrel seed potatoes in each, so there are 12 kestrel seed potatoes. And then down here just in front there are 5 15-litre pots, and I had some spare Charlotte, so secondarily, so I popped them in there, 2 in each. Probably should have just put 1 in, but I've put 2 in. We'll see how we go. So small greenhouse is looking nice and tidy now. I'll just take a quick look in the big greenhouse, because I've just put my peas in guttering. I'll show you that. Quick look in the big greenhouse. The broad beans are coming on nicely. As you can see, they're already about 2 inches, 2.5 inches high. Maybe at the back end of next week they'll get put into the ground. Kohlrabi have come through, a little bit patchy. Some might have dampened off, I don't know, because it's still quite cold on the night. Peas are in guttering. That's just a couple of bits of offcut. I had 2 really long lengths of guttering, and I cut them down to 9'6" in length. So I've got 2 there on the shelf. It's going to take 2 people to carry them out and put them into the ground. I think I might cut them down to half size next year to make life a bit easier. So that's the peas done. A little bit of a change around in here as well. Here's the second trestle table that I managed to buy on eBay. So we've got more space now in here for when we put our climbing beans in modules and when we sow out the sweet corn, which will be in about 2 weeks' time. So we've got plenty of growing space now in both greenhouses, so we're pretty much set up. Right, that's it. Sun's come out now, rain stopped, so I'm going to make a dash for the van and I'm off home for a cup of tea. Have a good week. See you later. Bye.